Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today, I want to know what you all think. Basically, I'm kind of looking to see, are you going to make me feel better by telling me I'm wrong? Or are you going to make me sad by saying you agree with me? Because what I want to know is, do you think that the level of politicalization now and all the political bias and dogma, the social bias and dogma, all the stuff going on, has it allowed the powers that be to warp the minds of the gun community to where you can do whatever you want to the Second Amendment as long as you cater to their other biases? If you're someone that they love or even worship, I hate to say, you can do whatever you want. And this question spurs from the fact, like over the last couple of days, I've been talking about how the Trump administration is completely wrong on wanting to maintain that if you smoke marijuana, the government can take your gun rights away from you. Not only are they wrong on it, and not only do they want to maintain that, when the courts are tearing it down, there's been multiple decisions now that say that marijuana should have nothing to do with gun rights, period. Even if it's illegal, you still shouldn't be able to deny anyone their Second Amendment rights for it. Doesn't pass the test of an actual gun law. So it should be gone. And the Trump administration is saying, no, it shouldn't. We want to keep it. We want to have that in our pocket, that ability to take people's guns rights away by simply saying they use marijuana. And that's wrong. And that's what Trump is doing. And if you're supporting him, you're wrong. But so many people can't say he's wrong simply because of who he is. And they put owning the libs and all this other stuff above their loyalty to the Constitution. They care more about whether Trump thinks they're cool than whether their country stays the way it is. And that's sad. And that's allowing so many people to be duped. All the talking heads online trying to make it look like, hey, that water's not getting hotter. You're just fine. Stay where you are. In fact, things are getting better. If anything, that water's cooler than it was. Next thing you know, you're a boiled frog. And that's happening really hard right now in the gun community. And it's got me very discouraged. So I think you know how I feel. Yes, that division, that inability to challenge the authority simply because you worship the authority. Being someone in the gun rights community that worships authority, especially politicians, I've never been able to make sense of it. I mean, when you're walking around with T-shirts that say this politician is the second coming, or God declared him our leader, that kind of stuff, you've got a problem. And that shows your loyalty is not to the Constitution. It's kind of like how the founders said, if your loyalty is to your Bible or your religion before the Constitution, you're not suited to be a politician. Same thing I feel with this. If your loyalty is to a politician and not the Constitution, you're not suited to be an American. And I see that all the time now, and it's discouraging. So I wanted to see what other people thought. So feel free to weigh in over here. You have until I say that's it for us today to weigh in. So I hope to hear from some of you. Some people have already weighed in, so let's go over and see what they got to say. Let's see if I get cheered up or if I start to cry. We'll see. Sean Bain weighed in and said they think about likes, views, and money. It will be okay in the end. Don't pay attention to shills. He's saying the people like the talking heads that tell you, oh, don't pay. They're doing good stuff for you. They're on your side as they're stripping your rights away and all this other stuff and never making any positive change. In fact, standing in the way of positive change. They're thinking about the views and the money. Yes, they are. You're right about that, about talking heads. However, I don't think it's going to be okay in the end, but it's nice to hear somebody say they think it will. I actually just think I'll be dead before it goes full circle. So I won't have to see it, but it's still discouraging. In fact, that's how I have to encourage myself nowadays. I have to look at what's going on in the gun rights, and I have to go, well, we're winning some court victories and everything like this, but the courts aren't enforcing it, and they're setting precedences where they can overturn these things and don't have to obey these things, and they're allowing our rights to be infringed upon and saying, thank you, sir, can I have another because of who's doing it? And it's going to not end well. But I tell myself, well, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'll be dead before most of this really comes to fruition. But my kids got to deal with it. Caden will be upset. Zyra probably won't care, but Caden will be upset. I would ask, where I will ask, was there ever a community? I think we need to get it together. There are a lot more people, non-gun people, thinking about getting guns. Yeah. And unfortunately, we even wasted that, to be honest. Because like back in the summer of the riots and the George Floyd stuff, there were so many non-gun people going to get guns. But instead of winning those people over to our side, our community acted in a way that one of the reasons those people were getting guns is because of us, because they thought the wrong people had guns, which, don't get me wrong, that's a good reason to buy a gun as any, but still, we could have used that and fostered the gun community, fostered our support, but nope. More worried about owning the libs than accepting that libs were buying guns. So could have made a lot of inroads there and chose not to, mainly because it made more money on the internet to not do that. Because you got all the assholes. The biggest market for gun channels is 12 to 25 by far. It's my smallest age group, but that's the ones that really drive the gun channels. If you look at like the 3-4 million and up channels, if you looked at their analytics, their biggest market is usually 12 to 25. Let's see here. Where was I at? Mark L says the Constitution and amendments shouldn't be political. Well, I mean, they kind of have to be political because it's politics. The Congress has to write amendments and stuff. But I mean, I know what you mean. It shouldn't be partisan, I think is the word. It shouldn't be partisan. Edgar Cortez weighed in, says, I don't think so, but I grant you there is potential for that to happen. Yeah, I think it's pretty likely. When you've got people cheerleading Trump, taking away their rights, or at least bending over backwards to try to justify why it's okay, that's not a good sign for our long-term survival. I mean, just imagine if Joe Biden had done the same thing Trump's doing now. If he'd have stepped in when the court said, no, you can't take away people's Second Amendment rights because they smoke marijuana. If Joe Biden had stepped in and said, we don't like that decision, we're going to ask the Supreme Court to overrule you, NRA, GOA, all the gun people, all the talking heads would be losing their fucking marbles. Like I said earlier, they'd be shitting their balls out their ass. But because it's Trump, they're just looking the other way. Same thing with what's going on in Washington, D.C. Imagine if Gavin Newsom did that if he somehow became president and he did it. People would be fucking losing their minds on the right. Oh, we live in a police state. This is like Hitler, blah, 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 But no, it's okay. It's Trump. He's got our best interests at heart. Of course he does. He told me so. Martin Bisquick, I haven't seen him in a while, says, what are the National Guards doing in D.C., L.A., etc.? Checkpoints, clearing houses, blocks, or just showing off? It's mostly theater. And in D.C., it's not technically a state, and it's kind of got some weird loopholes there, so it's not illegal as far as I know. But it's ridiculous. It's political theater. It's garbage. Crime rates are not anywhere near their highs. Crime rate's pretty low right now. Only reason you'd be afraid. Let's just say this. If you were alive in 1975, you felt perfectly safe, and crime was way higher than it is now. The only difference is you didn't have 24-hour news. Now you have less crime, but you have 24-hour news and politicians manipulating that. So people are more afraid when they have less reason to be. It's kind of like with gun rights. We have more gun rights now than we ever had, since the founders. But people think we have less because of how the right portrays it. And people think crime is high because of how politicians portray it, when it's not. It's just what you've been indoctrinated to believe. And they don't even bother to change the numbers. You'd think they'd fake the numbers to make it look like things were bad. They don't. They just put out the real numbers and then tell you, don't even bother looking at the numbers. It's horrible. Knowing you're not going to look. And that's sad. Then Martin Bisquick gifted someone a membership, and then Patrick Rowe put in a super sticker. I think it was a smiley face winking at us. Once again, I'm starting to feel like I'm being sexually assaulted today from these people. All right, we got one more person weighing in, and then that's it for today's chat. We got Mr. Furley. He says, yes, political correctness and affiliation trumps 2A. Way to say it, I guess. But yeah, it does. It's like, as long as it's the Republican or the Trump, as long as it's Trump doing the anti-2A stuff, it's fine. This is just bad when a liberal does it. And that's the wrong mindset. You shouldn't care what letter someone has after their name. If they come after the Second Amendment in any way, we should be linking elbows, linking arms, and standing in their way, 10 people deep, as far wide as we can go. But instead, they must have a reason to do it. It's Trump. He wouldn't do anything bad. Or did you ignore his first term, where he banned bump stocks and then told the attorney general to just take guns away now, and then they can get their guns back in court if they can get them back. So just take them and then give them due process later. Did you not see that? Are you just pretending you didn't? Have you rewritten history to where you don't believe it happened? I've seen some people who've rewritten history that don't believe it happened. They're like, that never happened. I'm like, yeah, I watched it live on TV. So did millions of people. But now they want to pretend like it never happened. Kind of like how they erased that Trump was ever impeached from the Smithsonian. That should outrage you. If you're just someone who believes in truth, that should outrage you. I mean, I'm okay with you saying, I support Bill Clinton still, even though he was impeached. And I'm okay with people saying, I support Donald Trump, even though he was impeached. Okay, I can understand that. But let's rewrite history that he was never impeached. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with that at all. Because people who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it. And people who try to change history are determined to repeat it. And that's not something we should be condoning, period. And if you do, I don't care what little snarky comment you come up with or smart mouth response. If you do that, you're pretty disgusting. You don't deserve to be an American. Sorry. And I'm not saying America's perfect. We've done lots of bad things. And that's the thing. We have to be able to acknowledge the bad things we did. And instead of just saying, oh, look at these bad things we did, we're terrible. No, you say, look at these bad things we used to do. We're so much better now. And that's because we decided to be better. And we didn't do that by changing history. We became better by acknowledging our history and learning from it. And now we're back into a cycle of trying to delete history. So that's a decline. And I don't like that at all. And especially don't like it when people that supposedly support the Constitution, supposedly support gun rights, turn the other cheek, look away when someone who they don't want to, tear down politically because they believe in them. They don't want to challenge them. So they just say, I'll just look the other way. Or worse yet, because it's profitable, they defend them when they're wrong. They even promote the idea. Like we had one Down syndrome looking motherfucker talking head on YouTube who's saying, oh, Janine Shapiro and the Trump administration, they're bringing rifles and shotguns back to D.C. They're bringing the Second Amendment back to D.C. When the reality is all they're doing is all those guns they illegally seized from innocent citizens, they're just not charging them with a federal crime because they can't. And they say, well, it used to be you'd charge them with a federal crime, but we're not going to. Well, no, you're not going to because the law changed. You can't now. So what you're really saying is we illegally seized firearms from a bunch of citizens, but aren't we nice that we're not going to charge them with a crime? While you're enacting a police state and actively trying to take gun rights away from people who smoke marijuana. It's funny how they twist things, how they spin them. That's like saying, see all these people that I locked up on my property last week? I just went out and randomly grabbed people and locked them up in cages. Well, I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to let them all go. I'm not a wonderful person that I'm just letting them go. No, I still locked up people unjustly. And that's what, that would be like the people who they're bringing back the Second Amendment. This would be the people that say, look, he didn't kill or eat any of them. Isn't he such a great guy? I'm glad I voted for him. So, yeah, it's discouraging. But I didn't want to turn this into a long rant, so we're out of here. I will see you all again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks, everybody, for participating. I appreciate it. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe till I see you again.